Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Richard, I'm Nigerian and I review Pakistani dramas. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing episode 3 of the popular drama Barzakh. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're interested in these reviews, and if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. So in this episode, we get a bit more explanation on the character of Shahrazad, specifically where she comes from, maybe a bit about what she is, her role to play in this whole story. We have a bit more information that is helping us to piece things together. In this episode, I find it quite interesting that Shahrazad is kind of like the audience in some way, because even she doesn't fully understand what exactly she is. She's also confused because she says that all her life, all she knew was that she came from the mountains, but she doesn't know exactly what she is. And this is a callback to the very first scene of this episode, where we see the shaman discovering a baby, the baby being Shahrazad, on the mountain, and the baby has been left by members of the other side, these figures dressed in red. Now, I'm not sure if these people dressed in red are the ancestors as well, or if they're a different group of creatures or characters that have a different role to play in all of this. There seems to be a slight distinction because when we've seen the ancestors, they're dressed in pink and they seem to be carrying these rocks on their back. But these figures in red just seem to be maybe just spirits that have a different role to serve. Not exactly sure, but I feel like there's a difference between the two groups. We also see that there's a prophecy about a child that is from you, but not of you. And in the flashback, everybody in the village seems to think that that prophecy is referring to Shahrazad, the mountain baby. So that gives us a little bit more insight into the fact that Shahrazad is not just a normal human being. But at this point, I think it's fair to say that Shahrazad is the daughter of Akka and Matab. And Matab just happens to be one of the other side. And Shahrazad, obviously, because of that union of her parents, is half the earthly side and half the other side. And it seems as though Matab might be the leader of the other side, or these figures dressed in red, because I believe she was the first girl to disappear or have her calling. The character of Matab is very interesting because in a flashback scene, we see Shahrazad telling Akka that she departed for the lost meadows. And Akka says, everybody says that she committed suicide. So how is it possible that she just disappeared? And we keep getting this imagery of Matab with the blood on her stomach, probably symbolizing how she may have killed herself, or maybe when she was giving birth to Shahrazad, maybe she may have cut out the baby or something along those lines. But we get a lot of imagery to show that she was definitely hurt in her stomach region. And I think, personally, I just feel like that has something to do with her carrying the baby. And at this point, if all of us are not sure what happened to Matab, I think it's very obvious right now that she did not die a normal death. Instead, the story of her leaving for the Lost Meadows seems more plausible because Shahrazad also tells Akka that her grave is empty. Since episode 1, we've seen that throughout the village, different girls go missing because they have what they call a calling and they just disappear. They go into the mountains and nobody sees them again. And in this episode, we see some of the parents of the girls that have disappeared. And it seems as though they have periodic meetings where they have maybe a vigil to remember the girls and maybe pray for their souls or something and just discuss and support one another. But you can see that the parents are very confused, they're very hopeless and helpless. They don't really know what to do about this situation because it's not a normal situation. But also along the lines of this prophecy, we see that when Shahrazad is talking to the shaman later in the episode, trying to understand what exactly she is, he tells her what once was is you and what is to come is you. And just like all of us, Shahrazad doesn't know what the hell this guy is talking about. It just makes it even more confusing. But that definitely shows that she has a major role to play, probably in the reconciliation of this world and the spirit world. She definitely has an important role to play in the resolution of this story. Now, also in this episode, we have a very controversial scene, and it is a scene highlighting a romantic relationship between two men. And as I mentioned in previous reviews, I definitely knew that this was something that was being set up. I mean, it was easy there for all of us to see. But this episode, this was like the culmination of all of that. And instantly, obviously, I know that this would not go down well with a lot of Pakistanis because this is something you don't see in Pakistani television or anything. So this is a very bold choice by the director of this show. And I'm curious to see how people receive this in Pakistan, but I already know this will not go down well at all. But when the Italian chef is about to kiss Saifullah pushes him away and he reacts very angrily. And I feel like there's a lot to unpack in that interaction. There's a lot of, I'm not sure what it is. Maybe Saifullah, we know that he's very troubled. Naturally, he always seems like he's carrying a lot of a heavy burden. And maybe he's also trying to cope with reconciling his sexuality and all his trauma from his life. So he's not exactly sure how to express himself. Whereas if you contrast that with the Italian chef, who's very free, who's very he doesn't seem like he's troubled. He just wants to live his life, kind of like dive deeper into his concept of love and freedom and just being present. Those two personalities clash for different reasons. And I think this scene, as controversial as it was quite interesting in highlighting just the differences in the perceptions that these two characters have. I'm curious to see how the relationship between these two goes, not necessarily romantic relationship, but just how they move on or what happens after this scene between both of them. And the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that this episode is actually the first time that we see Shahrazad going against Aka's wishes. First, at the beginning of the episode, where she goes into the village and takes food for them because they're celebrating Meregan. And the second scene is close to the end of the episode, where she confronts him about why he doesn't favor his sons, why he doesn't do more to enrich the relationship with his sons. And Aka confesses that he doesn't know how to be a good father, how to have that father-son relationship. And he says that it's always been easy with her. And Shahrazad says, is it because I always do whatever you want? I'm always on your side. And I thought it was necessary for her to say this too, because we all know that Aka is a very difficult man. But it always seems as though Shahrazad is always on his side. She never really goes against him, never really tells him her true feelings, even though you can see on her face that she doesn't support what he's doing. So for her to say it in this scene, I felt she's kind of coming out of that shell that she's had maybe her whole life knowing Aka. And I think that kind of opens up a new dimension into the relationship between these two characters, because Aka is kind of shocked that she's talking to him that way, but it looks as though she's getting something serious off her chest. So I thought that was a very interesting scene as well. But that is pretty much it for episode 3 of Barzakh. I'm excited to see what else happens as this show goes on. Also interested to see what your thoughts are on the controversial scenes in this drama. Are you enjoying it so far? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comment section. But thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.